Greetings and welcome to an LGR blurb video about something that just came in from Greece. Look at all those lovely looking stamps. And yeah, every so often there comes a product where you just kind of have to drop everything and say something about it. And this is one of those things. Let me just go ahead and get it open. Ooh, alrighty. What is this? There appears to be some extra things in here that I wasn't expecting, but yeah, this right here is the main event. Oh yeah, would you look at that? It may not look terribly special. In fact, it looks like a lot of mid-90s generic clone kind of sound cards that you'd get, just plug and play random things. But I promise you there's a lot more interesting stuff going on here. This is a beautiful thing. So yeah, this is the Orpheus 1 sound card, a community-made project, and it is effectively a Sound Blaster clone with all sorts of fascinating additions and capabilities that make it well worth seeking out if you're looking for kind of an all-in-one, mostly in one, solution for a DOS gaming sound card. And I'll see some refer to this as like the ultimate DOS gaming sound card, perhaps. Well, I don't know about that. There's no Gravis ultrasound support, but in all honesty, it'd be pretty unreasonable to expect that to be on here. And what it does have, I mean, there's so much good stuff in here. So yeah, this is a project I've been following off and on for a little while now, just looking at its development every so often on the Vogons forums. And see right here, those are the two main folks responsible for it, Ed and Leo. And full disclosure, it was Leo who sent me this. I was actually hoping to buy one from the next batch because the first batch sold out. But he was like, no, I'll totally send you one. And yeah, well, thank you very much, Leo. This is an awesome project. I am seriously impressed with how clean this looks. It looks like a proper professional retail sound card from back in the day. The whole idea behind this is to provide Sound Blaster compatibility, so Sound Blaster, Sound Blaster Pro, and the Windows Sound System Standard. And the way that that is happening is via that handy little crystal chip, the CS4237B controller. And even better in a way, look at that. See that little Yamaha chip? That is a OPL3. That is the YMF289B. So that's a little bit different than like the 262 that you would see on a lot of sound cards. But that one's, obviously even smaller and still sounds great from the ones that I've heard in the past. So yeah, this does Sound Blaster, PCM sound, and ad-lib FM synth stuff. So you got that classic 44.1 kilohertz 16-bit stereo audio and a bunch of ports. So we get a 15-pin game port for joysticks, but also doubles as a MIDI output if you set it to do that. Got a line out, line in, microphone, PDIF. That is very, very nice. That's another big thing about this, is that the audio is supposed to be really clean in terms of the output. A lot of the clones and the Sound Blasters were very noisy. And then you have a little mini MIDI out port, which I believe that's what this cable is here. Yeah. So that's nice. Gets you a proper full 5-pin MIDI just right there. But like I said, it also has this if you wanted to use that. So if you wanted to, you can have MIDI go through here, MPU 401 compatibility, or you can go out from here. And this is another big addition to this card. So not only is the audio nice and compatible and very clean in terms of the output, supposedly, but you've also got this PC MIDI chip. And that might be pretty recognizable if you've seen any of the MPU 401 intelligent mode cards that have been available for a little while now, as sort of an alternative to the Roland MIF IPCs and such. And yeah, the same two folks, as far as I know, were also responsible for putting those projects together, at least the initial plans for them and stuff. I know other people have been putting them together and selling them and whatnot, but yeah, it's got that on board. So that's like two cards in one. So instead of having to rely on the kind of janky Sound Blaster MPU 401 or a separate card, you've got them both on here. that is super convenient if you're using external MIDI, which I love to do, and that's great. Another thing that's awesome on here, look at all those caps. You got some quality caps right there. Yucatan stuff. So awesome. Another really cool feature is you have an Ac97 header here. So if you wanted to plug in like a front panel sound thing, you can. A lot of older sound cards just don't have that. So it's really convenient to have that. And if you're putting this in a slightly newer case, or, you know, have some other reason to plug that in, like another device. And of course you have the CD audio and the classic 4-pin header there. It's not the little mini one that the Sound Blasters typically used. So you can just use a regular sized 4-pin to 4-pin for CD-ROMs. And then of course we've got a wavetable header. Yes. So you can use that with your wavetable daughterboard of choice. And there's a lot to choose from. I have a lot of them in my collection. But it looks like there was also one included in here, and I was not expecting this. Yeah, this was a bonus. So I guess Leo included this from Serdaco. In fact, I believe these were both manufactured or, you know, put together by Serdaco. These are all devices here that you see that are going to be on sale eventually on Serdaco. Maybe they are by now. I don't know. This was packed in October. But yeah, the Yucatan FX. I hadn't really looked into it until seeing it in the box here and being curious, like, what the heck is it? Look at that. Reptile Paradise. So this is effectively one of those Turtle Beach daughterboards, or the wavetable cards that they put out. But it's not. Obviously, it's a community-made thing. But check that out. You see that little GS chip there? So that is a Dream chip. There's one of those here too. These are both, I guess, Dream sourced chips. So it seems that there are a ton of these still floating around in various electronics distributors or, you know, parts suppliers in Europe. And what they were is it used, well, you know, Roland had their GS kind of thing. You know how like Yamaha had XG, Roland had GS, and yeah, it's just an extension of General MIDI. And GS is, of course, what things like the Soundcam is, the SC55 and the SC88 and such. You use the different versions of that. So I don't know exactly what it's emulating. I think it's the SC55 Mark II. I'm not entirely sure, though. But anyway, the way that this works, of course, is that you just plug it straight into the wavetable header. And now you can get wavetable MIDI output if you choose to do so. I think one of the other things that's kind of interesting about this, too, is that you don't also, like, say if you're not using wavetable, you just want to use FM. Well, you have a couple of those options. So like I said, you have the Yamaha in there, the OPL3, that's what I'm going to be using. But you also have the Crystal's built-in FM synth. So to summarize, it's a Sound Blaster clone made with a lot of modern components, with some new old stock ones as well. Or, you know, just old stock ones that are being newly used. And it's supposed to have very nice and clean output. It's got built-in MPU 401 intelligent mode, which is much better than what you normally got back in the day. Ac97, you got a wavetable header, and different options for FM synths, as well as these jumpers that let you do different things. And yeah, the SPDIF output, that's just so cool to have on a card of, you know, an ISA card, really. You just don't see that often at all on an ISA card. In fact, I'm not aware of any. That was mostly a thing later on PCI cards. So, fantastic selection of stuff here. There's enough talking, though. Let's go ahead and try this out. Alrighty, so I've got the lovely compact Presario 425 going here. It's a machine that normally does not have a sound card installed. Does now, though. So, seemed like a nice candidate for this. A 486, 100 megahertz DX4. Well, just a lovely machine. Very glossy screen, hi there. And it's a bright day. Did not think this through, honestly, but you know, it is what it is. So we're going to use it. And it's not going to be a super involved look at it necessarily, just in terms of going into the nitty-gritty details, but I just want to show how I have gotten it working in terms of the setup of the software, and it's going to run some games, see how they sound, or hear how they sound. Unless you have synesthesia, then you'll see what they sound like. But right, let's go into the first thing that I was attempting to get working. And this was recommended to me, Orpheus. And, you know, it would work very well. And then I'm sure on other systems it does. But it didn't work on here, and it didn't work on the SBC 486 that I built recently. I think because this is a non-plug-and-play system, this is a plug-and-play card for the most part. And the software definitely seems to be based on that kind of stuff. So I was having some issues on non-plug-and-play BIOS machines like this. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. So you have this Orpheus, the INI file. There's an INI right there that you can edit and set your settings for the plug-and-play stuff to do its thing. And then orphinit.exe, that will run, and then just, there you go. The card works with games, supposedly. Where I had problems, let me just open this. So you can see here, you've got a bunch of different variables you can change. It's pretty much anything that is not going to be set on the card itself through jumpers is going to be set through here. So you got, base addresses and IRQs and DMAs and, classic stuff. Sound Blaster base address 220, OPLs, 388. Stuff you'd expect to be there. But where I seem to run into problems, it's got SRS stuff as well. We're going to keep that off. I don't need any effects or any weirdness. Volume levels and things like that. But yeah, digital output. I had to set this to disabled with this Orphinit driver, because with it turned on, it would not output Sound Blaster PCM sound. It would only do the ad-lib FM synthy stuff. Don't know what's going on there. Some sort of conflict every single time I try to get them both going at once. So I just turned SPDIF off, so there's no digital audio out. Not a big deal for this video, but kind of unfortunate. I'm sure it'll get fixed at some point. This is still in development. Yeah. So this is how that works. It's basically just got that going right there. Shout out to 640K Enough. This is a user on Vogons. And yeah, it reads the INI file. It sets the DMA. The IRQ is set on the card itself. I have that set to IRQ5. FM volume, OPL3. That is the Yamaha chip and not the Crystal FM. And then the DSP, so 3.02, which means no hanging note bugs here. That's a slightly older DSP, so that is good. So this is working perfectly fine. Like I said, it's just not going to have digital audio out. At least not with this particular software solution. But, yeah, you can hear it here. Yay! That sounds really good. So that is the Wave Blaster card that's in there, that Yucatan FX, which I think sounds extremely good through these classic little speakers. I have seen the Phil's Computer Lab video where he was not so keen on some of the reproduction of some of the sounds. Especially, I noticed when I plugged this into my studio monitors with like a subwoofer setup and everything, I guess it's like a 2.1 system, it really is bass heavy. I will agree with that. Especially the 808 drums, they're really bass heavy, and there's a lot of low-end mids, and the highs aren't necessarily as crisp, and some of the instruments aren't as loud maybe as you'd expect, but dang it, it sounds very close to an SC55 otherwise, especially through just like classic normal old computer speakers. I mean, seriously. Sounds really good. So, that is what that is. Like I said, it's working this way, but it couldn't do SPDIF out. So the other thing that I'm using, and I think I'm going to be using this going forward, you just saw it there, but it went away. And that is Unisound. So that's just a COM file, and you get a text file letting you know how to use it. There's no INI or anything. It's just done through typing stuff into the command line or having it go through autoexec. autoexec.bat like you would with a Sound Blaster. In fact, with this you set a blaster variable like you would with a Sound Blaster. Orphinit does not require that, which is kind of nice, but like I said, I've had better luck on a non-plug-and-play machine using Unisound here. So I have these settings in the set blaster and autoexec going right there. And so it's effectively doing a lot of the same stuff as Orphinit was, but I also have this going, XOS1, which makes the SPDIF output turn on. And yeah, you can see it's on there. And for some reason, with all of this going, it works alongside the Sound Blaster. Like I said, with Orphinit, it was just no PCM sound. it was OPL3 only. This gets both and PDIF, so assuming it's a plug and play issue. So cool. I also have it set a little bit louder. I forgot I did that. Awesome. And of course, it's not just the sound canvas or general MIDI mode. I guess really Wave Blaster would probably work too, would it? That's even louder. But yeah, of course you got Ad-Lib Sound Blaster as well, so if you want the OPL3. Nice. Let's just go into Duke 3D and play some Duke. Oh, we're going to do it with the Yucatan because it sounds great in Duke. I know you're only hearing this just through a recording with my mic. It's not direct or anything like that. But it sounds really good. I mean, it sounds as good as any, my Sound Blaster Pro 2 or Sound Blaster 16. Honestly, to me anyway. And of course you got that Yucatan FX going in there, sounding all cool too. Mouse ball. I got stuck on the mouse pad.
Come get some.
Or not. You can leave it there. Ah! Thought I had enough splash damage to kill that guy. Oof. This mouse needs to be cleaned or something. It is not working right now. It's like, eh.
Come get some.
So much glare in this room too, I can't see a thing. Gotta turn on the lights. Die. How did that not hurt me? Am I missing something? This should have hurt me. It's a glitch in the matrix. Alright, well. So that sounds great. I was going to do a digital recording actually with the PDIF, but it turns out that my Scarlett recorder that's the only way I have to record digital audio. I don't know where it is. It's over in storage somewhere. Haven't used it in years. Up next here is just a quick little bit of Duke 3D with the gameplay audio and the music going at the same time. And then also just of the Yucatan FX on its own and Duke 3D. And then I'm going to follow that with the Sound Canvas SC55 so you can hear the difference.
Damn, those alien bastards are gonna pay for shooting up my ride. We want some.
you know, obviously the Yucatan FX is a little bit different than the SC55. It is those Dream chips doing the Roland GS stuff, so it's not identical. But in most normal situations that I've had it in, just, you know, putting it through regular old computer speakers sounds good to me. Obviously, doing side-by-sides, you're going to hear differences. I hear differences, you know, bass heavy and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, let's try something else here. This is something I always like to check out with sound cards, just Jill the Jungle. Because it's got classic OPL2 music and then Sound Blaster sounds. Works perfectly fine straight away, which is awesome. I want apples. So yeah, that's one thing I've noticed. Is on certain games, like this one here, that were written for older Sound Blaster cards, the sounds sound a little muffled, actually. And I think that's just due to the crystal chip being used. I've noticed that on certain later Sound Blaster clone cards. In fact, I believe some of the ESS audio drives kind of have very similar sounding muffledness to the PCM sound samples. OPL3 sounds fine with the OPL music going on there, but it's just a thing. It's minor. I don't know. Most people probably aren't going to care, but I noticed it. Same with Zargon. It's same basic engine underneath. Music sounds great though. FM is a bit loud. I should probably turn it down even more, actually, in the settings. Because Zargon's FM is always really loud anyway. This music is... I don't know, it's just mixed loudly. There we go. So that should change the FM variable. Volume lower. It's not much lower. So yeah, certain games with Sound Blaster PCM sound like that, it's just got that trademark Sound Blaster clone thing going on where it doesn't quite sound right to me. And that's honestly to be expected. It's using one of those crystal chips that's, to be honest, it's not my favorite. And I've never really been, you know, I will always pick like an original Sound Blaster Pro 2 or a 16 with an earlier chipset over one of those. But, you know, it's the advantage of having all of the other things on this card that make it so appealing. It's got so much built into it beyond that, and it just does so much of it good enough that it makes it a highly appealing card for certain situations. Most DOS games, really. There's just a few of them that, your typical outliers. Epic Pinball, I mean, this sounds really good. Yeah. apologies for the excessive glare once again. I do actually have a filter on here to eliminate some of that, but you can see it doesn't make too much of a difference when there's so much sunlight going on. Of course, I gotta try Commander Keen, just because so many folks know what that sounds like and what it should sound like. Pretty much perfect as far as I'm concerned. The fart sounds sound correct. Sounds correct. Yeah. The power of real Yamaha chips. Alongside that crystal thing. It's not, I don't think it's even using the crystal at all for this. It's just straight up the Yamaha chip, which is cool. I love that it has both on there. That is one of the biggest appeals of this entire card for me. That and just, you know, the really clean audio output. Again, I know you're not really hearing it here because I'm not doing like a direct out. Screw it. I'm gonna let direct audio out go from Commander Keen for what we just heard there, and just listen to the silent parts. That's the important part. Yeah, there's so little noise. It is awesome. And that's just coming in through the normal analog audio out. So it gets even better with the digital. And the other thing is that built-in MPU 401. I got a proper one that does intelligent mode. Having that on the same card, I'm not going to be trying that here because I've done that a million other ways with other videos. But it works the same as those. Like, it's on there. So you don't have to rely on the Wave Blaster card if you don't want to put one of those, if you want to use an external like an SC55 or whatever. You can do that. This is just such a great mix of things. Despite the crystal chip having some weird issues here and there. And I think, again, that is mostly due to plug and play stuff. Or lack of it on this machine, really. This is another one that I've run into some issues with, is Tyrion. I don't know what the heck is going on here. But it doesn't like it. So FM, of course, is fine because it's using the Yamaha chip, or at least that's how I have it configured. And we can put it to 330H. It's doing the Yucatan Wave Blaster thing. Not ideal for this game. But the Sound Blaster, just doesn't work. Like, it's got some weird issues with Sound Blaster stuff, and it's always been like that. I've had problems with this game and so many different cards over the years, but especially the later Sound Blaster clones. I think there's a way to get it working without the SPDIF enabled. Let me do that really quick. I think by default it will turn, yeah, that'll turn that off. Let's go back to Tyrion. Nope. See, now it's working. What the heck? Yeah, okay. I was reading about this on the Vogon's thread. It's still a little crunchy. Do you hear like the crunch after the sounds? Some funky things. So yeah, for some reason if you disable digital audio, it tends to get the Sound Blaster to work in games like this. All the quirks, man. There's always... Oh yeah, that is crunchy. That's weird. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It's not good. Oh, yeah, that sounds bad. It's like a crunchy buzzing sound. So yeah, it's issues like that you run into with these Crystal chips and some of the many other Sound Blaster clones. But that's how it goes, right? And considering all of the other things that you get on this card, it is a trade-off, but if you want those other features, and you know, in some situations I can absolutely see myself continuing to use this, just because of you know, having the onboard MPU 401, the clean audio output for making recordings, captures and stuff like that, and then yeah, just having an actual OPL3 alongside that Crystal chip. Because if you set it to just the Crystal and use that side of the FM, it sounds bad. It's that cloned FM synthy. It doesn't have the same depth to it. It's not good, so it's a really good thing that it has an actual Yamaha OPL3 on here. Now, I haven't tried the Windows sound system stuff really in terms of like actually trying it in Windows, because that requires some different drivers. I think you need to actually use the Crystal Sound Windows drivers for that. And I'm not really interested in doing that, honestly. I mostly just want to use this thing for DOS games. Doesn't have Descent on here. What kind of idiot doesn't put Descent on their system? I do have SimCity 2000 though. Let's get some different music. Those heavy drums, man. Yucatan FX doing what it does. Is there no water in this city by default? Happy Land is not very happy. I've never understood that. Actually, I do understand, and I am just being facetious. Well, anyway, yeah, that's it. This is an awesome card. Yeah, I haven't mentioned the price, though. It's a little... You know, it's one of those things. It's made by enthusiasts in small batches. It's selling out, so it's not like it's, I don't know, overpriced necessarily, but it's not cheap on its own. However, I think it's pretty darned affordable when you consider what it's doing and the alternatives. And I just realized the refresh rate is wrong, and now I'm annoyed. Oh. Or really, my camera shutter speed was wrong. Oh, sorry about that. Oh my god. Anyway, 3 flavors of the card. And those 3 flavors... here we go. So you get just the sound card on its own, 130 euros. With the PC MIDI installed is 180 euros. That is the configuration I have here. And you could also get it with the Dream Blaster X2, which is 230 euros. Like I said, not cheap, but considering the alternatives. So if you were to take like a Sound Blaster 16, or a clone really in this case, and then Roland MPU 401, or the MIF IPC card really, you put those together and you're already over the price of what the Orpheus costs with the PC MIDI configuration. If you're talking original hardware. Now, if you were to get, you know, the PC MIDI clone thing that does MPU 401, which is pre-installed on the Orpheus, and just stick that alongside a Sound Blaster, chances are it's going to be a little less. But the fact that it also does those other things, like it's got, you know, the clean audio output, the OPL3, and it's just all the integrated coolness. And digital out if you need that. And just the overall ease of use. I don't know. I think it's a really intriguing value proposition for certain people in certain situations. It's not going to replace my Sound Blaster 16s, that's for sure, but I like it a lot. And the Yucatan FX, I mean, same kind of thing. It's not going to replace my Roland's. But dang it, this sounds good. Just on its own. You know, side-by-side comparisons, doing like actual legit recordings and getting all scientific with it, you can hear the differences. But for most games, it sounds really darn good to me. So, well, now I'm just rambling. I don't know what else to say. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Curious to know what other people are going to think about this card. I think it's great, honestly. And the price is pretty dead on for what I'd expect for like such a small batch enthusiast deal. I mean, you know, the work that must have gone into this, sourcing all these chips and getting everything working as well as it does, and then now drivers are being worked on, and it's only going to get better because, well, they blew up the solar power plants. It's stupid rioters. Who turned those rioters on? Gosh. I lost my train of thought. Whatever, man. LGR Blurbs. This is the sound card. I think it's cool. Now you know about it. Thanks for watching.